All set, Sam? City of Lowell Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on October 11th, 2006, 6:30 p.m. concerning the following petitions. The first one is Drake Petroleum. Is there anybody here for this petition for Drake? We have a letter that they're going to be continued to the November 13th meeting. There's nobody here for that. I need a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to continue to the November the 13th.
Need a second? Second by Mr. Gary. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Kazanjian?
Continued.
Mr. Gary?
Continue.
Ms. McMahon? Continue. Mr. Flynn?
Continue.
Mr. Belanger?
Continue?
Okay, it's going to be continued to November 13th, and hopefully we'll see Mr. Fortune then. Next one is Robert Monahan, 109 Industrial Avenue, to allow the renovation and use of premises as a kennel.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, James Flood, 81 Bridge Street, Lowell, Mass., representing Robert Moynihan Jr., who's with me tonight. We're before you tonight requesting a special permit for the operation of a dog kennel of approximately 2,500 square feet in a portion of the building located at 109 Industrial Avenue East in Lowell. The property is presently zoned HRC, and a dog kennel is a permitted use with a special permit. The proposed business will primarily be a daycare facility for dogs, where people would come and drop the dogs off so they could be taken care of during the day. And there will be some overnight boarding. It's very similar to the one I think you're probably all familiar with in Tingsboro on the highway up to the mall called Best Friends. It'd be a very similar operation. The facility will be open from 7 o'clock in the morning and close at 7 o'clock at night. I've handed you a description sheet showing what type of services will be offered, and in addition to the daycare, they would have a section for the sale of various dog supplies and foods, like leashes and collars. They would provide for grooming appointments, dog grooming by appointment only, and some indoor obedience training, and I think that's all listed. The plan also provides for a 30 by 50 outside walking area where they would take the dogs out during the day to walk them and to exercise them outside. My client has established a noise abatement policy, which I've handed out. I don't know whether you want me to read it into the record, Mr. Chairman, or whether that handout is sufficient.
We should be all set with this. We can read it.
Yeah. And I assure you that he will take affirmative steps to assure that this policy will be and any noise will not be a nuisance to the neighborhood. So, I mean, I think the operation is simple. I know there might be some concerns with the neighbors because of noise. So I would suggest that in the event that the board does vote to grant this special permit, that they add a condition that they conform to that noise abatement policy. And I think that provides that if there is a problem, the dog would be removed and would not be accepted. Bob Moynihan is here, who I think briefly could explain more about the business, if that's what you want to do, Bob, or do you think I've handled it? Whatever you want to do. Come up here, Bob, and speak.
I think it's important that a distinction be made between a dog kenneling business and a dog daycare business, because they're very different things. I think when you think of a kennel, you think of caged animals, you think of animals that might not entirely be satisfied in their surroundings. And I think if you look at a dog daycare facility by comparison, it's more like a child's daycare facility. You walk in, there are bright lights, there's soft music playing, the dogs aren't caged. They're playing. There's interaction that occurs between the dogs. There's also an area where a portion of the dogs at any given time are going to be able to lie down and sleep in caged facilities, if that's what the owners recommend and request, but otherwise on, futon type of things where they can lie down and get comfortable. One of the central things that I've learned in evaluating approximately 7 to 10 other daycare facilities in the greater Boston area is it was shocking to me the lack of barking that I found at every single one of these. And in talking to people, as it turns out, really the barking is a condition of one of three things. Either the dog is fearful about something and is trying to protect its territory, or it's bored, or it has a particular need that hasn't been satisfied. And I think one of the keys to a successful daycare facility is that you look to satisfy all of these three needs. And so, frankly, I have no interest in running a business where I'm going to listen to dogs bark all day, and I'm very sensitive to this in my own neighborhood as well as in setting up this proposed business. We would have a small amount of overnight that wouldn't be done in kennels, and it wouldn't be done outside. It would be done in exactly the same fashion, primarily on the weekends for travelers or people that might be going away for vacation. But that's a relatively small part of the business. The central core part of the business is the daycare business itself.
I'm sure we'll have some more questions. We have a few neighbors here. I'm sure they're going to be asking all kinds of questions. So if you just want to sit tight, we'll get back to you.
Fine.
Okay? Before we get going, I just want to welcome our newest member, Mr. Gary. And Mr. Gary has something he wants to say as far as disclosure, because he's worked with Mr. Flood over the years as an attorney. So, Mr. Gary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members. I'm glad to be a member of this board, and I did want to just publicly disclose that Attorney Flood had once represented a development corporation of which I was the president. That representation has since concluded. It was a few years ago, and I'm just putting that on the record as a way of disclosure. Thank you.
Okay, now is there anybody here who would like to speak in favor for this petition at 109 Industrial Avenue? In favor? In favor? Yes, sir. Why don't you step up to the podium, sign in, and state your name and address, and tell us what you like about the project.
My name is Mark Peters. I'm actually the owner of the building at 109 Industrial Ave. Excuse me, I'm out of breath from running up the stairs a little late. I've been dealing with these folks here for a couple of months now, and they're great people. They're very professional, and they have a business plan. Excuse me. I know a lot of people that have inquired about the space for rent have been like auto mechanics, auto body shops, used car dealers, and I just think to pass on an opportunity for somebody that outclasses an industrial park would be a big mistake to not take them on for the neighborhood. That's my 2 cents.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else like to speak in favor? Okay, hearing none. Anybody like to speak in opposition? We'll start over here to the left. This gentleman here has got his hand up.
Hello, my name is Calvin Miller. I live at 38 Bigelow Street, which is just across and directly behind this facility. I have no problems with businesses being in that industrial park. I do have a problem with noise in that industrial park. I'm a dog owner. I have 2 golden retrievers of my own. My neighbors have dogs as well. My dogs are very quiet, very well behaved, because as the gentleman spoke, my wife and I see to it that their every need is satisfied. But the minute you bring dogs into a facility that right next door is a dumpster operation
with large trucks going in and out, dropping off dumpsters during the day, those dogs are going to be barking because they're going to be scared. I've boarded my dogs at Best Friends once. I would never board them there again. That's not to say that Mr. Monahan wouldn't run a real class operation. The other issue here is the fact that, as he said, a portion of his operation would entail visitors, and I'm assuming perhaps people that stay across the Swan Street at the courtyard, dropping off animals for the week or weekend or whatever. So if the business operation is from early morning till 7 o'clock at night, who's going to be there all night long taking care of those dogs, satisfying their every whim when they want to get up, when they hear other dogs or they hear the large gas trucks that come in and out in the adjacent lot all night long? So my concern is that, again, not only the additional car traffic coming in and out of that area with people dropping off and picking up. I've lived on Bigelow Street now since early 1974. We've seen a lot of changes in that area. We've also seen the traffic out on Swan Street as well as Bigelow Street and Industrial Lab quadruple because of the businesses, because of the condominiums that was placed behind us. So I think this board needs to take into consideration the established neighborhood and our real estate values as well. I don't know, I doubt that any one of you would want this kennel in your backyard. And so if you approve this kennel, I'd like to know that there would be, this gentleman's home phone number would be made available to each and every neighbor. So when these dogs, that their every whim is going to be satisfied, that I can call him at 3:30 in the morning on Saturday or Sunday morning to come and shut these dogs up. So those are my concerns. Like I said, he may be, the nicest man in the world and have the best intentions in the world, but he's a businessman. So is the gentleman that just spoke, right? Again, we have properties behind us here, and again, those types of businesses don't help the value of our properties at all either. So, thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir. Why don't you sign in and state your name and address and tell us what you don't like about it.
Okay, I'm Ken Harkins. I live at 110 Bigelow Street, and I'm opposed to it. On the thing here, it says we're going after a kennel. And then he tells us there's a big difference between a kennel and a daycare. He's asking for a permit for one and saying another. So you're going to give him a kennel permit, which gives him open license for many other things overnight. He's going to sell food there. I don't know if the owner of the property knows it, but I go by there at 5 o'clock in the morning, and he has rats. Now you're going to put a food supply there for him that's readily available. Also going to create traffic problems. I'm a novice at speaking in public, but I just have some concerns about when they ask for a kennel, and we hear in great detail about a daycare center for dogs. I had a dog. I boarded the dog up in Tingsboro. Wouldn't do it again, so I don't have too much confidence in that one. So if he uses that as an example, I would hope he would change examples and do it better. But I would ask you not to grant this permit until there's a lot of concerns that have been brought up here tonight addressed, like control of the rodents in the area. When they drop those things and they wake the dogs up, can we call somebody to come put them to sleep again, or are they going to give them a sleeping pill when they go home? You know, 7 o'clock at night till 7 o'clock in the morning is a long time for a dog to be locked up in a cage. I wouldn't like it. I didn't lock my dog up in a cage. So I would ask that the board would deny the permit and take care of the neighborhood. I understand they have a very good business plan according to everybody else, but we haven't seen it. We haven't seen what the restrictions are going to be on it. He didn't read them into the record. He handed them to the board, but he neglected the neighbors. So we don't know what the restrictions are going to be or any of those things, so we can't make him live up to what he agrees to with you unless we know what he's agreeing to. And I would ask that you would postpone it, delay it, or deny it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in opposition? Yes, sir.
Yes, my name is John Gilbert. I live at 160 Swan Street. I'm opposing it only because I found out about it by the notice. I wasn't informed. I am directly next door neighbor. The play area that they're expecting to have is literally 50 feet away from my yard.
Are you in back of the dumpsters? Is that?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm the house right next to the dumpsters right now.
Okay.
I do have a dog. I love animals. I have no problem with that, but my dog is one of those dogs that's very territorial. People walk by on Bigelow Street, she'll bark because she wants everyone to know that it's her territory. I'm afraid that when there's dogs on the other side of her, she's going to be barking all the time. When they do go out in the area, the play area, walk area, one thing on that whole area, we're basically a tunnel, airflow tunnel, and it goes downwind from there. The smell, I know that can get pretty bad, and everyone here in the neighborhood is right in that flow area. The wind always goes that way. So that's one of my concerns. That's about it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else like to speak in opposition? Okay. Well, I think the neighbors have a lot of good concerns, and I agree with them. I don't know how this is going to work, and this one gentleman said, Mr. Monahan, can you tell us the difference between a kennel and a dog daycare? Why don't you step up to the podium? We've got a few questions for you.
Yeah, I think by design, a kennel confines the dogs. A daycare is an open space in which the dogs can interact with one another, they can run around in that occupation.
Try to speak in the microphone, please.
Sure.
Thank you.
And that interaction that they have with one another is what keeps the noise down. Mr. Chairman, if I could address some of the other questions that were brought up.
Absolutely, yeah, sure.
Okay. First, with regard to the supervision of the overnight, and in fact, any of the activities that are going on, that center, if we have a dog there, will not at any time be unsupervised. We will have a person sleeping there at night, 24 hours, and we will have a phone number for that daycare, and if you have any issues, we don't want to put in something that's going to be disruptive to the neighborhood. In fact, we want to do things for the neighborhood. We want to help give you an opportunity to take dogs off your hands as a convenience so that you can go places. But I think the other thing, too, is we really want to be an active community player, too. To get involved with the MSPCA and some of the other city organizations that are related to dogs to see if we can help in any way. So I want to assure everybody here that at any point we have a dog in that facility, whether it's indoors or outdoors, it'll be supervised. The two people you see seated here, as well as another person and myself, will be the 4 initial employees, and that will be a sufficient staff for us to at least get started, and we'll look to hire people as quickly as we can. Secondly, with regard to the traffic, One of the other parts of our business plan is that we are going to purchase a van for two reasons. First is a convenience for prospective customers that cannot get to the facility in time or pick up the dogs in time, and we will pick up or deliver the dogs to their addresses. The other thinking behind that is that's also going to be a way to reduce the traffic coming into and out of the facility. Third, and I think it was John, the abutter, my wife and the lady sitting next to her both visited your address to explain all of these things, I think on, was it Thursday of last week? Yeah. Yes, and unfortunately you weren't there, but we did leave information and did speak with another lady that was occupying the house, and I think she understood that our intent was sincere and genuine in trying to make you aware of what we were doing. Finally, with regard to the smell, again, you don't want the noise, I don't want the noise, nor does anybody else that's working there. These dogs are going to be picked up after. If you've ever been inside a true daycare facility like Best Friends, there aren't piles of excrement or urine stains or anything else that's going on. If there's an accident, it's attended to immediately, and that goes for both indoors as well as outdoors. And we'll be disposing those things in an environmentally friendly manner with a contract company that's a local business, I believe, in southern New Hampshire. So, I mean, we have given thought to all of the issues that were raised.
Okay, I have a couple questions for Mr. Monahan. Yeah. Okay, what kind of experience do you have? Do you have another business, or is this the first time you're starting out? Have you worked in this field before? Or?
I have not worked in this field before.
You have or you haven't?
Have not.
Oh, you have not?
No.
This is the first time?
This is the first time in the dog daycare business. I have run other businesses.
Okay, but nothing to do with any type of animals or dogs?
That's correct.
Okay.
I have been a dog owner for most of my life.
Okay, are you going to be grooming these dogs also while they're there, or is it just going to be a daycare? Or?
It would be, the core operation is a daycare.
Right.
If we were provided with the opportunity to do some ancillary services for our customers, we'd like to do a limited amount of grooming on a reservation-only basis. We would also like to have the dogs a boarding service, which I want to make a distinction is different from a kenneling service because they're not in cages, and they're going to be given the opportunity to sleep out in the open and play out in the open, and all of that will be conducted indoors. And then the retail operation that Attorney Flood had described.
Okay, now you said you're going to have a fenced-in area outside where the dog's going to be walking during the day, is that correct?
That is correct.
How long are they going to be left outside, or is it going to be, and how many dogs will be left outside?
Okay, at capacity, because of the square footage, we really need to limit the total number of dogs that we could ever take into the facility to about 30. And the way this generally works at the daycare facilities that I have interacted with and spoken with, at any given time, about a third of the dogs are rotated from the inside to the outside to the sleeping area inside. So if you think of it at about a 2-hour increment rotation, each of the dogs has an opportunity to sleep, to be outside, and to interact inside the daycare area.
Okay, how about the noise level? What are you going to do to protect the neighbors from the noise?
Okay, we've very specifically described that in a noise abatement policy that I think all of you have just received. The first thing we're going to do is no dog is going to be accepted into the facility that is considered to be an overly aggressive dog. And there may be terrific dogs out there, but because certain breeds are perceived as being aggressive, that's really not in our best interest as a business, nor is it in the best interest of the neighborhood and the community. So we wouldn't take, and I'm not going to name the breeds, but I think everybody knows some of the ones that tend to get people a little bit nervous. Secondly, every dog that comes into the facility, even if it's a small, innocent-looking puppy, if that dog shows any sort of aggressive tendencies, both in terms of their reaction to having food taken away or in the presence of other dogs, that dog will not be accepted or allowed to participate in our daycare center further. The third thing we will do is we're going to pay particularly close attention, both through supervision as well as the activities that we engage the dogs in during the day, to eliminate any of the need for barking. If we do get barking, as I'd mentioned before, there will be a supervised personnel who's trained and able to respond to that. If we cannot get a dog to stop barking outside, we'll immediately escort them inside the building so that it's not becoming a nuisance for the neighborhood. And I think the third thing is, if at any point we have a dog that, despite the initial interview, looked like a quiet and reasonable behaved dog, that turns out to be any sort of a nuisance or a problem, after having been admitted to the facility, we're going to politely ask the owners that not to bring the dog back. So we're going to be very selective in the dogs that are there, and they're going to have to meet certain criteria in order to be able to remain as clients.
Okay, you got a tin building with maybe 4 inches of insulation. I mean, if you get some barking dogs, these neighbors are definitely going to hear that. What are you going to do for the building itself? You can buy some type of soundproofing boards or soundproofing insulation and put some type of a drywall in front of it so the insulation won't be torn apart from the dogs. Is that something in your plan?
It's something, frankly, we hadn't considered. I wasn't aware, first of all, of the expense for that, so I'm not prepared to comment on it.
Yeah.
And I'm not prepared to comment as to how that might affect the fire codes and some of the other things that might be more along the lines of our landlord's concerns.
I'm sure the other board members have a lot of other questions. My personal opinion, I would like to go there and meet you and the neighbors at the site, see what type of fit-up you're going to do inside the building, and please the neighbors the best we possibly can. Okay, at this point, I'm going to open up to the board. Go ahead, Donna.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wondered, could you tell us how many, what is limited? Like a ballpark of how many dogs you would have?
30 to 33 would be the absolute maximum we could handle in that facility.
And would you be able to board that many?
No.
No.
Probably on the weekends, I think we had agreed 10 to 11 tops.
Okay. And how about how many employees?
4 initially, and a potential for a 5th, depending on how things worked out.
Okay. And would you have a vet on call, or?
We would have a vet on call, an emergency service that we could call at any point in time. And we
Okay.
would also have, be fully insured with liability insurance, obviously.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Gary.
Mr. Moynihan, I visited the site briefly this evening, and I guess if you could just explain to me if I'm looking at the right angle of the property. When I drove by, I believe it was a disposal business, and most of the dumpsters were marked Mark 1, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So is that the area that's going to be transformed into the kennel if you do get approvals?
No, the indoor daycare facility, as you, let's see, if you take the right off of Industrial Avenue, I believe that's Swan Street. It is.
Yeah, I'm
okay.
familiar with that, yeah.
As you take that right, it is the last part of the building on the right-hand side. So it's prior to where the dumpsters are.
Right next to it, okay. Now, if you got approvals for this project and for this business, how often would the dogs be outside? I mean, the winter months are coming. I don't know if it's mostly they're outdoors during the day or indoors, or they're just outdoors recreationally, or how do you plan on handling that aspect of the business?
Well, again, weather dependent, about a third of the dogs would be outside at any given point in the day, based on this rotation that I've described. In the winter months, we would, if there were a nice winter day where it was reasonable in terms of temperature, we might take the dogs out for a walk. I think once the snow starts to pile up, it really isn't realistic to expect that we're going to be able to have the dogs outside for any prolonged period of time, and therefore most of the time would be spent inside.
Okay, and my other concern is, I guess one of the neighbors had mentioned it, and I had thought about it when I first saw the petition, is the issue regarding, I guess they brought up rodents and the odor and the and how you're going to deal with the excrement, and I guess that's a pretty serious issue. And I'm just wondering if the Board of Health, are you required to get approvals from them, or have you discussed it with them? I didn't see any opinion in here from the Board of Health, so.
I don't believe we have, Mr. Flood, no.
Is that required? Do you know if it's required before you open the business if you do get those?
No, my impression was that it was not.
I guess in a hypothetical, if the issue arose regarding rodents and a neighbor had mentioned that he already seen it, how would you address that as the business owner if it were approved?
Me personally, I really wouldn't want to operate a business and especially expose dogs to rodents that might be there. I'd take that up with the landlord.
That's my concern. My guess is that rodents and dogs aren't a good mesh, so I don't know if the neighbor was referring to rodents around your property or in that industrial zone in general. So I guess I'd have to ask the neighbor who spoke if he could address that issue.
Over where he's going to be putting, where the Mark I disposal bins are, if I understand correctly, it's where you're going to be putting your outside kennel. At that point, that's where I see the rodents. Apparently they come in with the dumpsters, or they congregate there to do their business, whatever they do when they get there at 5 o'clock in the morning or all night. But that's where I have seen them when I go to work at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yes, if you want to add to that? Or?
Yeah, I want to add to it. The rodents are over there because there's wetlands, and that's where they're going. I had to get a cat just to keep them out of my yard. So
Right. So the rodents may be there no matter what, right?
correct, because of the dumpsters, yeah.
And the dumpsters are staying.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm all set.
Yeah, Mr. Flood.
I think when there was concern about food, I mean, what we're talking about is canned dog food and maybe a bag of dog food that you'd see in any Walmart, Demoulas, or anything like that. It's not going to be any food open up that rodents would want to go in to get. And I'm sure that if there was a problem, proper steps would be taken care of to make sure that they're not in it at the food, because then you couldn't sell it. So I don't think you'd want that to happen. So I mean, that was my understanding.
Okay, I guess I agree with the chairman. I'd like to at least visit the site with the potential business owners and have them describe more definitively what is going to happen there. And I guess if we do that, maybe we can together address some of the neighbors' concerns at that time.
You don't have a problem with that at all?
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Gary. We have a couple of questions from one of the neighbors.
Well, again, I would like to think that I'm hearing numbers of dogs of 30, 33. Is there anything in writing that says the absolute limit is 33 dogs?
Well, we can if this does ever get approved, we can put a lot of conditions on that. It's going to be 30 dogs. It's going to be a certain time.
Yeah.
We can do a 6-month review. We can do a lot of things to
Okay.
protect the neighbors, and that's what we're here for, to protect the neighbors.
And the best thought-out business plan, right? If I take 30 dogs that come from homes, they're dropped off during the day, they're put in a strange environment, there's large trucks coming in, dropping off dumpsters all during the day. Those 10 dogs that are out at any point in time here in those dumpsters are going to be jumping through their skin, regardless if I'm standing there throwing out doggy bones to them. Along with the tractor trailers from the gas company, those are real concerns. The fact that we hear the gentleman saying that there could be probably no more than 10 dogs over the weekend, right? Again, what is the attendant to dog or to animal ratio of people that's going to be there? If you get 30 dogs and you've got 2 people working there during the day, or 3 people working during the day, that's 10 dogs per person. So while those 10 dogs are outside with 1 person, Now I got 2 people left inside. One is probably, and I don't know, running the little storefront or whatever, selling the doggy treats or canned dog food or whatever. Now I got 1 person that can actually supervise 20 dogs, so unless we're going to get them, some form of entertainment, like I said, I have dogs. I have 2 golden retrievers, and they know each other very well, but when I let them out in my yard, which is fenced, they still run, yelp, and play. Now if I get 10 of them out there running and yelping and playing, and they're strangers to each other, so these are all, in my mind, very valid concerns that need to be addressed.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Monahan, we'll have a few things that you, if we do visit on the site, maybe you can address the questions that these individuals have, like how many employees you're going to have on the site at all times, if it's going to be 4. Maybe you can come up with a list of things that, you're going to have 4 employees. The hour is going to be 7 to 7. Are you selling dog food or not? And if you are, whatever you have on that, it's going to be etched in stone, and that's what you're going to have to have. I'm really nervous about this noise. If you get 33 dogs in there, and the gentleman's right, if you get a dumpster that drops, it's going to make some type of noise. I'm sure the dog's going to jump up and start barking. You're going to have at least, out of 33 dogs, you're going to get, let's say, maybe a half a dozen that's going to start barking. I mean, do these neighbors have to put up with that? I mean, I don't think it's a big expense to put in some type of soundproofing. And like I said, it's not a block building, it's a tin building. It's going to go right through that tin. Corey, do you have?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chairman. I share the same concerns, Mr. Chairman, as yourself, the board members, and the neighborhood. I took a lengthy visit at the site today, and in front of the site, as soon as you go down the street, I mean, this is Industrial Avenue here. This is where you have tractor trailers coming up and down all day long. You take a right onto Swan Street, it's immediately turns into residential, and sure enough, they're all here this evening, and whom of which all have dogs. I just think I'm behind what Mr. Monahan's trying to do. I think there's a demand in the city for it. I think he's a professional, well-organized, and he'll do a good job, but I seriously question the setting for the nature of this business. And I'm willing to make a site visit, Mr. Chairman, and I'll certainly keep an open mind, but at this point, I'm leaning against the petition. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Also on that, maybe we can add, how big is this fenced-in area going to be outside? How many dogs are going to be staying overnight? Just so these people have an idea what's going to be going on. Are you going to be grooming the dogs or not? And I'm sure we might have a couple other questions when we meet at the site. I'd like to talk to the owner of the property for a minute. You said you had a question also?
I just wanted to address the question of rodents. 2 of the neighbors have said they've seen it, so, maybe there are some out there. In the 4 years that I've been there, I show up every morning between 5 and 5:30. You'd mentioned you go by at 5. And I make a habit of driving around the building every morning between 5 and 5:30, and honestly, I've never seen a rodent out there. And if there are rodents out there, it's not as a result of our dumpsters. Our dumpsters, first of all, are just for construction debris. They're not for, food waste or garbage or anything like that. And first of all, and secondly, they always come back to our facility empty. So I just want to make those 2 points in case that is this gentleman said that was a concern about rodents.
Okay.
Those are my observations.
All right, thank you. We also had a call in the office that we received today. One of the neighbors, she couldn't make it here tonight, but she had a problem and also mentioned that it was a contaminated site. Do you have any type of 21E test that was been done on this property at all?
When we purchased the property 4 years ago, there was a site evaluation done.
Okay.
And it's a clean site.
Okay, good.
At the
We'll
time
just want to see that for our records, that's all.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I can dig that out.
That's fine, perfect. Any other questions? Go ahead, Jack.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, are there any animal daycares in the area that we could go and observe in any of the surrounding towns that you know of?
I think is the one in Tingsboro? that you
The one in
mentioned?
Tingsboro, and I've had a good experience there. I don't, you know, these people maybe didn't, but I've had a good experience there. It's best friends. It's
How many dogs do they have out there?
probably more than 30, Mr. Flynn.
right?
It's a big facility, yes. It's a big facility.
Thank you.
Oh, again, Mr. Gary, go ahead.
Mr. Flood, do you know if there's any other dog kennel in the city of Lowell?
I don't think there are any.
There's
I don't
not
think
one.
so, no.
Okay, I guess one question, and maybe you can address it, or Mr. Moynihan. What is if you receive permits, what is your projected date of opening? I mean, I imagine there has to be some preliminary work that has to be done to the building, at least to set up. And how long do you project that would take, assuming you got approvals?
We have some improvements that are going to have to be made to the facility. We have to bring water into that particular location. There is a sewage connection that we would have to make. So I really, without speaking to contract, we've had preliminary discussions with some of the contractors to try to benchmark what the cost would be. But it wouldn't be an immediate sort of startup. I would guess probably 2 to 3 months, maybe 2 months.
So it could possibly be after the winter months before you even start?
Yes.
After the winter months?
Yeah. It's not suitable for the dogs at this moment.
Okay, what do you expect you'll have to do to the interior of the warehouse? I imagine it is that building that I saw, which is the tin building. What would you have to do, other than if we require soundproofing? What did you plan on doing to the interior, aside from the infrastructure requiring the sewer and the water hookup?
Well, there would be a small build-out inside in addition to the capital improvements that I had mentioned. That build-out would be used primarily to segregate the dogs. We kind of look to put the dogs in groups of similar size and temperament so that they react well to each other. A small build-out for the retail location that we would have, as well as an office. And then a kind of a small shower type of arrangement where if a dog was to have rolled in excrement, we could clean the dog quickly and have that go into the sewer system as normal waste.
And what about plans for exterior fencing?
Stockade fencing, a higher grade, because we'd like it to be attractive from the outside. That would restrict the dog's vision of anything that was going on outside, as well as any dogs that were walking by might be distracted through a chain link fence or something like that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, I think we should try to get some type of date where we can meet at the site. And I think myself, included with the board members and the neighbors, will have a better idea what you're going to do over there. In the meantime, can you try to price out this noise thing, control that I'm talking about, whether it's insulation or some type of sound deadening board or something, so we have some type of answer when we do meet. Okay, Mr. Flood, if you want to get a hold of Kim in our office and try to set up a date.
Okay. Is there a representative of the neighbors that...
Does anybody want to be spearhead this? Okay, this young lady over here? Okay, do you want to, once we're done, you can get a hold of Mr. Flood and give your name and number, and he'll get a hold of you. Okay, thank you. We need a motion?
I'll make a motion to continue.
Okay, it's going to be continued for 2 weeks. What meeting is that, Donna?
Let's see. November 13th?
Okay, it'll be November 13th, and you will not be notified. Is it November 13th?
October 23rd, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
October
23rd.
Mr. Flood?
October 23rd.
It'll be October 21st meeting.
October 21st?
October 21st, yes. The 23rd?
23rd, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry, 23rd.
Okay. Is Mr. Miller,
Is everybody aware of the date, October 23rd? Okay, and you won't be notified, so just show up to the meeting. We get a motion on the table right now, so just give me a minute, okay? I need a second.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Geary?
Approve.
No, continue to 23rd, right.
Ms. McMahon, continue. Mr. Flynn?
Continued.
Mr. Belanger?
Continue?
And Mr. Kazanjian?
Continue to the October 23rd meeting.
leave a message.
Okay, I think that's all we have tonight. I'm going to motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, I believe we have some minutes to approve this evening.
Just give me 1 second, so we're just about done here, and we'll answer all your questions.
I just want to say something, it's not a question.
Go ahead, okay, go ahead.
I just want to say thank you for Mr. Gary being honest and saying he had previous contacts with Mr. Flood, because so many times that's forgotten.
Okay.
Thanks for being honest.
Well, he's a pretty honest guy, so.
I think we got August 28th. Oh, okay. Gotcha, okay. Oh, is it? Okay. Okay.
Okay, I need a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn?
I need a second? Everybody in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes yes.
Yes.
All set? Okay. Thanks, everybody, for coming.